Traditional Christmas dinners can be roast beef, roast goose, or baked ham. But let's try something different. I love roasted duckling, and it's especially good if you marinate the duckling first. To make the marinade, and this is kind of an oriental flavored marinade, for 3 ducks, you'll need 2 tablespoons of garlic and 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger. Add 2 tablespoons of hot sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of honey, a half a cup of soy sauce, and I like to use the black soy sauce. It gives a nicer glaze. A half a cup of white wine, choose a nice dry variety, and a 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce. Mix it all together and your marinade is done. I like to marinate the birds in Pyrex glass dishes. If you don't have those, stainless steel bowls will do. Just pour the marinade. This is enough for 3 ducks. Pour the marinade over the bird. Let a little bit get into the cavity. And marinate it covered with saran wrap in your refrigerator for at least 24 hours and preferably up to 2.5 days. I marinated these ducks for 2.5 days. See what a nice brown color they get. Pour out all the excess marinade and put it on a parchment covered board. This keeps your work surface from getting too messy. And I've made a stuffing, a very simple stuffing, of just chopped celery, 3 stalks of chopped celery, sliced oranges, and 1 Granny Smith apple. And this is for 3 ducks, don't forget. Stuff some of this stuffing in the cavity. You can sprinkle the cavity too with a little bit of salt and freshly ground black pepper. Maybe about a half a teaspoon of each. And if you can, with your fingertips, just loosen the skin on the breast a little bit from the meat. Just loosen that. Push your fingers in there and insert under the skin a few sprigs of fresh thyme. This is fresh thyme right out of the garden. Insert additional sprigs of fresh thyme right in the cavity and a whole lot of parsley. Italian parsley or this curly parsley will do. And to truss, tuck under the neck flap and the wings and use a double piece of thin cotton twine. Start at the neck, come up over the wings, over the drumsticks, catch the ends of the drumsticks with the string and pull tight, tying the string securely. You get a nice, tightly trussed bird this way, and one that won't spread out and roast unevenly in a hot 400-degree oven. Before roasting, prick the entire underside of the bird with a very sharp fork. This makes all the excess fat drip out. This carving fork works really well. Place it on a rack in a foil-lined roasting pan. I like to use a shallow pan about 2 or 3 inches deep. And pour in a little bit of boiling water, about a half an inch. This keeps splattering to a minimum. Place the roaster pan in a preheated 400-degree oven and roast for about 1.5 hours. Ah, this duck looks perfectly roasted. Brown and crispy. You should count on a half a duckling per person. I'm having 8 guests for dinner, and I think I'll cook 5 ducks because I want to make sure that everybody has plenty to eat. Christmas is not a time to skimp on calories, and our dessert is not a dieter's delight. A croquembouche, a French confection, meaning crunch in the mouth. Depending on the size of your finished croquembouche, you'll need anywhere from 50 to 150 or more dessert-sized pâte à choux puffs. Fill them with crème pâtissière, mocha cream, blackberry or raspberry curd, or simply vanilla-flavored whipped cream. When all the puffs are filled, it's time to assemble the cream puff mountain. To keep the croquembouche from falling down, you have to stick it together. And I use a caramel syrup or a melted sugar. 2 cups of sugar, 2/3 of a cup of cold water, 2 tablespoons of white corn syrup, I like to use this heavy unlined copper sugar pot for melting my sugar, but any good metal pot will do. And a few drops of lemon to prevent crystallization. Never stir this mixture, only swirl it. Stirring it may cause lumping and more crystallization. Put it on the stove on a medium flame and keep swirling it until the sugar is completely melted. After 4 to 8 minutes of boiling like this, the syrup will be a light amber color, which is what we want to stick the puffs together. And just immerse it quickly into a bowl of iced water. Don't let any water get in the pot. This just cools it off a little bit. The syrup is very, very hot, and you do not want to burn yourself. Be very careful. Put your pot on a separate board so that it won't burn your counter, and immediately start dipping your puffs, just the bottoms, and forming your croquembouche. I use an aluminum foil covered round of cardboard. Try to start with big puffs for the bottom. So choose the largest ones for the bottom. And then carefully form your whole tree. Continue stacking the puffs like this. When you've topped the mountain with the last puff, you're ready to spin the sugar. This caramel is not quite ready, as you can see that no strands are really forming yet. And this funny little instrument is really a balloon whisk like this one, cut off with wire clippers. That way you can get lots of strands of sugar at the same time. As this melted sugar hits the cool air, they form this extraordinary cobweb of golden threads. The sugar has to be exactly the right temperature, not too hot and not too cold to pull like this. So if you find that it's getting too stiff, you can put it on the heat for a second longer. Or cool it in a bowl of ice water if you must. You can stack the cream puffs in advance, but you have to wait until right before the guests arrive to spin the sugar. There you have it, a cream puff mountain encased in a spider web of spun sugar, a croquembouche. Yorkshire pudding is a basic savory batter that puffs up magically when it cooks in the oven, and it's a natural accompaniment to prime rib. Together, they make the quintessential Christmas dinner. And Yorkshire pudding is really simple to make. It tastes best if you bake it with the pan drippings from the beef right in the same roasting pan in which you've roasted the meat and deglazed the gravy. So make this batter a day in advance and chill it very, very well in the refrigerator. And I'll show you how simple it is to make the batter. You add about 1/4 cup of the roasting fat from the prime rib into the bottom of the pan. Your oven has been preheated to 425 degrees, and you coat the whole bottom of the pan and the sides with the fat and place it in the oven. You want the pan so hot and you want the batter really cold. Make sure the Yorkshire pudding goes in about 20 to 30 minutes before the actual serving time. You want to serve it immediately out of the oven. So now in a big bowl, I'm going to show you how to make that batter. Place 2 cups of flour, two cups of all-purpose unbleached flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to sift the salt and the flour together. I always like to use a great big sieve like this. Now, make a well in the middle of the flour and break your 6 eggs that are at room temperature into your well of flour. And you have 2½ cups of milk already measured out. Now with a whisk, beat those 6 eggs into the flour. making a very thick, pasty mixture. Notice I'm using a large whisk and incorporating all the flour. And now gradually add the milk. First about a half a cup. And slowly incorporate the milk into the batter. Beating it until it's pretty smooth. And as you add the milk and it gets thinner and thinner, it's easier to incorporate the milk into the batter. Whisk it up nice and smooth. Cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator overnight. Well, here's our ice cold batter that was made yesterday. Just whisk it up so that you make sure it's smooth. And we're ready to get the hot pan out of the oven. Now it's been in here about 5 minutes. Oh, you can see that it's smoking and very, very hot. Immediately pour the batter into the hot fat and get it right back in the oven. This is a big pan and the batter is thin in the bottom of the pan, so it's going to take about 20 minutes. Well, now I'd like to show you how to carve a prime rib. Here's the meat. It's rested. The juices have redistributed throughout the cut of beef, and we have to get rid of the bones and slice the meat. Now, just take the beef off the pan. And I'm using a carving board that has a little bit of a moat around it so that the juices will fall into the moat and then into a deeper receptacle over here. It's a great board for carving, and you don't lose all the good juices. With a little pair of scissors, cut the strings that have tied the beef together and remove them. What we want to do after we remove the strings is to take out these bones. This is a new knife that Henkel's just sent me. It's a twin star knife, and it's just amazing. It's so sharp, and they say it never has to be sharpened. So start top or bottom and carve right under the bones. We want to leave as much meat on the roast as possible. There. And now I like to turn the meat back over this way. There's a lot of salt here, so I'm going to scrape off that salt over to the side. And then, using a carving fork, just slice the beef to the desired thickness. This roast should serve between 6 and 8 hungry people. Now, if it seems that the top is too fatty for your taste, you can always cut right here and just take out the fat. But it's sort of pretty to see the whole piece of beef on a plate. If you want thinner slices, you might have to use an electric knife, but these nice thick slices are kind of traditional. I'm going to serve my prime rib in Yorkshire pudding with roasted root vegetables, young carrots from the garden, and some baby leeks. Perfect Yorkshire pudding. Golden brown hills, sunny yellow valleys, perfect for Christmas dinner with a standing rib roast and roasted vegetables. It's fit for your family, it's fit for your friends, and it's certainly fit for Henry VIII.
Ah, dinner is waiting hot from the oven. Glistening roasted ducks. Golden butternut squash puree, freshly grilled vegetables. Fresh cabbage sauerkraut with mushrooms. And golden brown herb fleck poppers. I like to serve this kind of dinner as a sit-down buffet, leaving me lots of time to spend with my guests. It's an informal way to entertain, and guests can get up and help themselves to seconds, and sometimes even thirds. It's a tradition to make a gingerbread house for my dessert table every Christmas. This year's gingerbread house has a copper leaf roof and sugar glass windows. It stands ready to be gobbled up after dinner, along with the shortbreads, cookies, fruitcakes, and of course the glorious croquembouche. Each and every Christmas should be one to be remembered, to evoke warm feelings of friendship, continuing the wonderful family traditions you've set out to make year after year.